Yeah, no, I had so many worries. I was so stressed out. Like,
I didn't have to pay a single dime, and I realized the school was actually my cheapest option.
I do feel like I belong at Harvard, and I can't imagine myself being at any other university. So I chose Harvard for a couple of reasons, but I would say the main two reasons were financial aid and also the size of the school. First of all, I wanted to be able to go somewhere where my family could afford, and Harvard has a really amazing financial aid program. And so out of all of the colleges that I was accepted into, Harvard offered me the most competitive financial aid package.
Yeah, so one thing that really drew me to Harvard as a first-gen student was just seeing how great the community here was. Just seeing a lot of other Vietnamese people. I'm Vietnamese myself. Going here, I really found that community. I really found a lot of other students who were like me. And then as well, I would also say that the financial aid program here was awesome. I remember when I got my acceptance and I saw the financial aid package, and it was fully covered. I didn't have to pay a single dime, and I realized the school was actually my cheapest option.
Harvard, I also feel like, is a school that's not too big but not too small, and I knew I would thrive in a place where I had access to all of the resources that I needed, but also it was big enough so that I felt like I was always meeting people and I was still continuing to explore and and be in different environments. And so I feel like it's big enough where things feel different every day, but small enough where I feel like I get all of the support that I need.
at first I was very excited to come to Visitas. I'm like, I'm invited to go to Visitas. And then I was like, wait, I'm invited to go to Visitas. Like, I'm so nervous. I thought it was a very exclusive space. And I knew that that wasn't gonna be a place for me because I come from a very inclusive community. And I remember like the person that I was staying with, the student that I was staying with for Visitas, like, I don't know, she made me feel so included in the community and so included in her friend group. And I will say since then, my worries, like those worries do not exist whatsoever. Even now as a sophomore, I know that if I walked into like any dining hall, that if I sit down, like I could make a friend with somebody in that moment.
I was worried that I was in over my head, that everybody would be so much better than me, that I feel like I wouldn't belong at all. But when I first arrived and when I first started taking classes and starting to meet people, I just realized that at the end of the day, everyone's just a college student, you know? Everyone's just trying to find their own path in life. And I think when you really think about it like that, everybody just wants to make friends, and nobody's here to, get you or anything like that. Everybody's here to support each other. After a week, I think all those worries just went away, and I really felt like I was a part of the community.
I knew that I wanted to do something in STEM, so I was a little bit worried about what that journey was going to be like, considering that I didn't feel like I had the strongest academic background. I went to a very small high school. We didn't have a lot of advanced science and engineering classes or math classes, but I definitely feel like those fears were alleviated as soon as I stepped on campus. Additionally, Harvard has so many academic resources, and I really relied on my teaching fellows, on my even my classmates, on the Academic Resource Center for tutoring. So I feel like those fears were alleviated.
A piece of advice I would give to first-gen students is to not doubt yourself. I was doubting myself the entire time. Like, even after I applied, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna get it. Like, I remember when I was opening my admissions letter, I literally was like, because I was surrounded by my parents, and I was like, guys, if I get rejected, it's fine. Like, we knew this was gonna happen anyways. One thing that my dad always kept telling me was that there was a first for everything. Because again, like, I'm a first gen, so I would just say there is a first for everything, and not to doubt yourself, because whatever's meant to happen will happen, and if it's not what you want, it's because something better will happen for you. And so Harvard happened.
I would tell you to really lean on your community, lean on your family, your friends, your teachers, and your counselors. The people who know you really well, getting their perspective and sharing your essays and sharing your application with them is something that I think is really helpful. And sometimes it can just be really stressful. So not just when it comes to the application process, but when it comes to all of the feelings and emotions that surround college applications, really expressing how you're feeling and the kind of support that you might need to relieve some of that stress that comes with it.
I definitely do feel like I belong at the college now. Besides being a first-gen student and a low-income student, I'm just a huge introvert. So I was really struggling thinking about coming here and thinking, oh, I'm not gonna find my friends. But now I definitely do have my friends. And I think for anyone who's worried about feeling like they might not fit in, I would definitely just say, I think it's a totally valid concern, but maybe just try to take that chance. And everyone here is open to making friends. Everybody here is especially open to making you feel welcome, regardless of where you're coming from, what background you might have. I think everyone here is really here to make friends, have fun, and really just welcome you.
Yeah, so at first, again, before I had decided to go to Harvard, I did have worries that I was gonna not belong here. Like, I was not the ideal Harvard student. But I did a pre-orientation program. I did FIRE, the first year experience in retreat, and it's for first-gen low-income students. And I think that's really what made me belong here. And it was such an amazing introduction to campus, because there they really do put emphasis on the idea that we belong here and that being here is not by chance, it's by choice. And even now, since it's been a year and some change since I was a Firefly, or since I was in that program, I still feel like I belong. I've always felt like I belong. I feel like there's never been a question for me of whether I belong here or not, because there's so many people here that even if that doubt creeps into your mind, they'll be like, no, you belong here. Like, it's not by choice, it's not by chance, it's by choice.
I do feel like I belong at Harvard, and I can't imagine myself being at any other university. And I think one of the biggest things that has contributed to that is the fact that I was really able to find my community the first couple of weeks on campus. And the reason that I think that becomes kind of easy for students here to do is because we have so many student-led groups and organizations and pre-orientation programs. So I definitely feel like I belong. And some of the advice that I would give to students who are struggling with that is that I would remind you that all of your experiences led you to where you are, and you belong here just as much as anyone else. One piece of advice that an upperclassman gave me during my pre-orientation program during FIRE was that as lucky as you may feel to be at Harvard, Harvard is even more lucky to have you here and to have you choose this place to study at. So I would say that you're doing amazing and you belong in any space that you enter, and just remember that.